What's up, guys? It's NFL Week 11, and this is your DraftKings NFL Week 11 first look. We're going to go through it all. Matchups, positions, players, salaries, and a refresher for what happened in Week 10 so we can be prepared for the week. You guys ready? Let's get into it. And of course, as always, before we actually go player by player, I like to take a look at the matchups. So let's jump right in and take a look at some of the matchups that we're looking at for NFL Week 11 and see maybe where we could find some excitement. So let's get started here. First, we've got the Bucks at the Bills, 48-point total. Two really good scoring offenses. Bucks have that kind of pass funnel defense that we look forward to, and the Bills have a really nice team total here set at 26.75. So definitely some goodness to be had from this game, I think, on both sides. Next, we've got the Packers at the Giants. Dart with the concussion. What's going to happen? Don't know. Listen, I've been on Dart here all week long, last week, the week before, this past week, everything. And I don't really get like why what do you guys like? I'm literally getting critique in the comments about my love for Dart, which I don't really understand. We'll get into Dart later on, but the guy has smashed, and he was the nuts play again last week. So you're welcome. And let's keep it going. But that being said, it does look like Dart is maybe going to be concussed for this one. So I'm setting it aside. The main piece that looks interesting in this game is Packers defense and Josh Jacobs, in my opinion. Maybe Wicks and maybe some of those secondary wide receivers on the Packers as well. Next, we have a potential banger here with the Bengals at the Steelers, right? Steelers are 6.5-point favorites at home in this one. But man, these Bengals games have been producing fireworks on both sides. 49-point total. Flacco's in the game. Jamar Chase is going to be there. Obviously, I don't know if there's any weather situations or anything like that we have to pay attention to. But overall, this game absolutely looks like it could smash. So let's keep an eye on this one. Chargers at the Jaguars. My main note of interest for this game is just like everybody who goes up against the Jaguars that's a quarterback or a wide receiver has absolutely crushed it this year. So I think Herbert and crew are in play. Always hard to guess which of the crew, but certainly the Chargers on this game would be interesting. And maybe on the Jaguar side, maybe like a Parker Washington or some shit like that. I don't know. Texans at the Titans. Texans are favored. Probably going to get CJ Stroud back for this one. It's kind of an interesting game, I would say. Not really super exciting, but maybe Woody Marks on the Texans. We'll take a look. Bears at the Vikings, 48.5-point total. It's winter, and this is in the Dome. I like this game. I think this game has a lot of potential on both sides. I think we go right back to Caleb, right back to Bears weapons, and maybe consider some bringbacks from the Vikings here. So 48.5-pointer, Caleb, JJ, double JJ, Justin Jefferson's there. Maybe Aaron Jones. We'll take a look. And of course, Bears running back. We'll get into that situation as we go through the player pool. Panthers at the Falcons, 42.5-point total. The Falcons coming off a big week. Drake London has been on fire. So I think we go with that. On the Panther side, can we go back to Dowdle? Do we still have trust? Do we still have faith? I say yes. What say you? We'll find out. So a couple of more interesting games left on the slate and then some duds. 49ers at the Cardinals is a very interesting situation. I like when the home team is just a slight underdog, the way the Cardinals are here. Makes me like the Cardinals offense. We already know they don't really spread the ball around that much. So we know where the ball is going. It's going to McBride. It's going to maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. It's coming out of the arm of Jacoby. And 49ers are not that different. Juwan Jennings and Christian McCaffrey are basically the entire offense right now. So with George Kittle, of course. So it's like a trio. I think we can really hone in on this game and do some damage. And then finally, Seahawks at the Rams, two really good defensive teams, two really good offenses. Something has to give in this one. So I'll be interested, but I'm going to have to think about how we want to play it. These last two games really, 40-point, 44-pointer. These look kind of gross to me. So I think that kind of takes us through these matchups. Now let's jump in and take a look at this position by position and just get a feel for what some of these players did last week and who we want to really be attacking for NFL week. What is it? Week 11, week 12? I don't even know anymore. Let's get into this. Starting with Josh Allen, QB up top, coming off a 24-pointer. And this is what he's been doing, guys. He's been kind of giving us these middling games. We haven't had one of these slate breakers pretty much since week 1 with Josh Allen. So he's got one slate breaker, but this game has that potential at 7K against Tampa, a team that's pretty good against the run. We could get that slate breaker. So I absolutely want to keep Josh Allen in my mix this week for sure at the high end of the range. And especially because the other high-end quarterbacks are much less appealing to me. Starting with Lamar, I mean, he's okay, but against Cleveland, I don't really see that as a team that's going to push Lamar into a ceiling game. So that's not going to be super interesting for me. Similar, Mahomes at Denver, Mahomes is so great this year, but I don't really see Denver as the kind of team offensively or defensively where the Chiefs are going to go nuts against. So I'm probably going to avoid that. Don't like the DVP on that one as well. Stafford at home against Seattle, that's maybe a little more interesting. Stafford really has been almost Mahomes level good this year. I don't really see that changing anytime soon. Even in this game, I think this game can pop. So I don't mind like some Stafford to Puka or Stafford to, I really want to see what happened last week, but Stafford to Puka or Stafford to Devontae type stacks. I think that's fine there. But more likely than not, I'm leaning this game to be much more of a play to the under situation. Similarly with this Mayfield at Buffalo, I think we're just better off playing Josh Allen, given that the salaries are so similar for these two quarterbacks. If Tampa on the road is really going crazy, that's probably Buffalo going even crazier. So I would just defer to Josh Allen. So far, just like Josh Allen of the expensive group. Scrolling down here to Herbert. Now, this is a non-competitive matchup. Chargers at Jacksonville. It's not going to be super competitive, or it shouldn't be. But what's interesting to me is quarterbacks continue to smash against Jacksonville. Like even Davis Mills last week went nuts against Jacksonville. So like they stink. Let's keep it real. They're not that good. So we got to keep Justin Herbert in the mix, I think, this week as a potential play. Justin Herbert normally does not get there without kind of being pushed or a little something special happening. But at this $6,300 salary level, and with how cheap it is to stack him up with his tight end, Gadsden, or Quentin Johnston, who's really priced down, or Keenan Allen, who's really priced down. So I'm kind of looking to do that rather than the Ladd McConkey combo, just because Ladd is very expensive. Bo Nix, pretty much, I don't know what to make of it. What a terrible game. What a gross game. What a stinker. What a stinker at home against the Raiders. But Bo Nix reminded us that if it's a low-scoring game, he's not going to push at all, right? We're not going to get the big scores out of Bo Nix in low-scoring affairs. His best game was against the Giants. Giants do that, right? Ruined my dart play that week. Had a pretty nice week one against Cincinnati. Again, probably the softest. So his two great games have come against two of the softest defenses in the NFL. Casey's good. So I'm not so sure about Nix here either. Jolo has a couple of amazing games this year, but for the most part, he's going to ruin your lineups. It is the Giants. Giants are so bad. Got to keep him in the mix just for the matchup. That Giants defense is epically bad. They're almost Bengals level. And by the way, we're getting to the Bengals. They're on this slate. It's not like we don't have that game too. We do. So a couple of spots here. I think Jolo is worth kind of a raised eyebrow, a little things that make you go, mayhaps, right? But it's probably going to be a no. But even still, silly for the millie, right? Next up, of course, Caleb Williams. Now, I'm more interested in this spot. Inside the dome at Minnesota. Vikings, not that good of a defense. Caleb heating up lately, looking better. Now, of course, he looked better against the teams that everybody looks good against, Giants and Cincinnati. So first, let's keep that in mind. Let's not assume every time a player smashes against the Giants or the Bengals that player is great. Let's assume that everybody else is going to smash against those terrible defenses, right? Keep in mind. But that being said, I'm not seeing all that much different for the Vikings here. It's in a dome. It's weather controlled in the winter. We only have so many spots like that. So yeah, Caleb is absolutely going to be in the conversation for me this week. Purdy might be back. We'll see. I do like this San Francisco-Arizona game, but I'm kind of leaning more towards Brissett than Purdy. Purdy coming off the injury, I don't feel so great about it. Darnold on the road at the Rams, very tough defense. Okay, but nothing I'm going to go crazy for. And now, of course, we've got to talk about Dart. Another 27 points. Dart was the quarterback of this show last week. He was the quarterback of this show the week before. He was the quarterback of the show the week before, and he was the quarterback of the show week 7. All of them. You guys laughed at me when I played Dart in week 7. How could you play him against the Denver? You're stupid, right? Puts up a 30, wins you the tournament. Actually, Bo Nix surpassed him, but it was the same concept. Then you guys laughed at me. I can play Dart at the Eagles. Smash. I can play Dart, and why are you still going back to Dart? Here he was a little chalky. Smash. Last week, more. Somebody said this guy's obsessed with Dart. What the hell's wrong with him? Go right back to it. Now, with all that being said, I think we've hit the roadblock here. He's got a concussion. He's at home, though, against Green Bay. Still price reasonable. Yeah, I get Green Bay's defense is good. He will not be the starting. He's not going to be my build-around candidate because I don't know about the concussion. But I still like him this week with the new coach and the whole thing. They fired the coaching staff. Team's going to be fired up. Let's go. Let's go. Continuing on, the other player that I adore is Joe Flacco. He's out there slinging it. Doesn't give a fuck, right? Now he goes over to face the other old guy, Aaron Rodgers. This is going to be a sling fest between two old timers. It's very friendly. How you doing? Nice to see you, Aaron. Yo, my boy, let's hang out after the game. A lot of friendship going on with Flacco and Aaron. But during this game, it's going to be a sling fest. Let's fucking go. Now, I can't stomach the idea of playing Aaron Rodgers in a DFS lineup. I'm having a hard time with it, guys. I don't know why. I do know why. I mean, the guy's crossed 20 points once this year, and people are playing him all the time. Like, guys, stop doing that. So I'm not doing that. But I'd rather go with the Flacco side. Joe Flacky, Joe Cool. And we'll see if we can bring it back with someone from the Steelers. All right, let's keep looking, though. So we went through Flacco. Again, Dart, very reasonable. Aaron Rodgers, no. Right? Even in this matchup, I'm just going to play the Flacco side of it. If you guys want to play Aaron Rodgers, I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to critique it. I think it's okay. I'm just not going to do it. See if there's any other kind of interesting quarterbacks on the slate. So Mac Jones, I don't know if he's going to start. Oh, you know what? Actually, I think I'm going to go a different way with the starting point. No, I'll leave Joe Flacco, but there is one more here. So I think JJ McCarthy, still not very good, right? A couple of not that horrible performances, but I'm not seeing, sadly, he has a bit of a Zach Wilson look to him, which I definitely don't like. So, need to wipe that smile off his face and start kicking some ass, bro. But yeah, I'm not sure I'm ready to go there with McCarthy yet, but I mean, it is a great matchup at home. Let's see what the ownership looks like. Lawrence, no. Stroud, probably not. But the next two names, there's really two names here that I think have mild interest in the super cheap category. First is Jacoby Brissett, who all he's done is put up 20 plus in his 4 starts. And that's all I'm really looking for a $4,900 quarterback. So I think Brissett is in play here against San Francisco. Easy to build stacks around this game for sure. Very comfortable stack. And then my silly for the millie possibility is probably going to be Michael Penix at home against the Panthers. The negative is he really hasn't shown any kind of a ceiling. I probably, even with, I don't like it, right? Silly for the millie as it gets. Dylan Gabriel coming off a big game, worth a look at his stat line, but it's really nobody that I'm going to ever have any interest in DFS as well. So that kind of does it, guys. And I'm really curious to your thoughts on the quarterback position and the QB stacks for NFL week 11. As far as, what are some of the stacks that you've identified coming in here? Did I miss one? Are you on somebody that I didn't talk about? Or who is your favorite QB wide receiver stack this week? Hit me up in the comments. Give me your ideas. Get me on these guys, and maybe we'll bring those ideas up on Tournament Tactics on Friday. A lot of times you guys come with these great ideas, and we're able to kind of expand on them later in the week. So looking forward to that. Definitely hit me up with that good stuff. All right, let's jump over to the running back position. And you're going to see here, it is a little bit tighter than usual in terms of plays. Early week, there's not a ton of value available. But I want to talk about some running backs that are really popping for me in the model here in this week on DraftKings. Starting at the very top, of course, with Christian McCaffrey. Coming off of what I thought was a pretty obvious dud spot, he still got 10 targets, 8 receptions. So the great thing with McCaffrey is, even in sort of a bad environment, team got their ass kicked, bad matchup, number 1 run defense in the league, all of these targets combined with the rushing touches and all of that still keep the floor relatively high. So absolutely an attack spot with McCaffrey this week. And I think he's somebody we could probably plug in as a pay up option. Most times it's going to be really, really hard to find salary relief this week. So I'll get into that as well. I've already started kind of building lineups. And what I noticed is once again, we're going to need a low cost wide receiver and probably a second tight end or some approach like that to really pull off playing some of the potential studs available to us this week. So let's keep that in mind as we go through the build here. But McCaffrey, I think, is the class of the slate. 10 receptions, 10 targets, crazy. Now, Bijan, on the other hand, disappointing. Consistently disappointing. Not in his talent. It's there. It's crazy good. But here we go. First of all, 2 targets, 10 targets, 3, 8, 8. Right? So the targets fluctuate in a way that make his potential scoring brutal. His best weeks tend to come when the target spikes happen. Here's your 38-pointer, right? Now, I want to show you guys one other name, the Algerian. The Algerian stole 2 touchdowns, 11 carries, 2 touchdowns last week in a close matchup. This keeps happening. So basically, we have to think of Bijan as basically Jahmyr Gibbs with Algier. And I've said it many, many times, with Algier functioning as the David Montgomery. What does it all mean? Well, last week, Gibbs got us a 40. It's not like that was bad. I think he was in the first look lineup for me as well last week. So congrats if you tailed that. But Gibbs put up a monster score last week. But the floor is low. That's what I see happening with Bijan. When he gets the carries, it's great. But they're taking him out of the game around the goal line. So it just increases the range of outcomes much more so than someone like McCaffrey, because McCaffrey's in the game at the goal line. He will get the touchdown when it's available, whereas Bijan is absolutely splitting those opportunities with another back, which, might be good for the team, but it's not good for our fantasy team. So keep it in mind. That's why I'm going to favor McCaffrey a little bit, but Bijan's upside remains intact. Josh Jacobs, smash spot. Coming off a pretty good game, lots of volume there, got the targets, 6 targets, 21 carries. Let's take a look at Manny Wilson, just Manny being Manny. And this is what you want to see. The backup running back drops back down to 1 carry, 1 target. All the work went to Jacobs, which was a contrast to the week before when Jacobs and Manny being Manny were much more of a split. 13 carries, 13. We're getting these sort of terrible numbers here. 18 and 5. That's what we need to see out of Josh Jacobs. This is a smash spot for Jacob. I'm actually going to plug him in as well because it's such a good spot. But we're not able to spend up on both running backs this week. So we're going to keep going and talk about some other names that I think stand out in week 11 here. Kyron Williams, maybe a little bit, but really probably not that great. He got 2 touchdowns last week, and it took all of those 2 touchdowns to get him up to 22, 7, 14, 21. We needed 28 out of Kyron in order to have tournament winning value. So this guy, even with 2 touchdowns, did not get there. That's a problem. That's why I haven't been playing Kyron, because the passing game work has not been as aggressive as it's been. I mean, yeah, you had this 10 target game and that's when it popped. But all of these other games where he only gets 2 or 3 targets, where are the pops? They're not there. The only big scores, the only tournament winner happened when he spiked for the 10 targets that 1 week. So, I don't know. I think it's a dangerous spot against a really good Seattle defense. Rico Dowdle, stud off a dud. right? So let's take a look at what happened with Rico. Oh, Kevin, you started to play Rico. I did say to play Rico, and I played him, and it started off really good. He got the touchdown early. Looks like everything was going our way. And then, he got a bunch more carries, but basically the Panthers fell into a tailspin. The team didn't score again. This is the problem with Rico Dowdle, and it's going to be the danger this and every week. We have the best possible matchup against the Falcons. Falcons can't stop the run at all. So we get this great situation for Dowdle, but now I'm nervous about it. Look, he's only getting like 3 or 4 targets per game. So most of the damage, and his targets are not really even leading to big fantasy production. Most of his damage has to come via the grind, the run up the gut. I think we have a wide range of outcomes. He needs to get a 28 from this price point to make value. I think he'll be in my mix. I like that he's going up against a terrible run defense. Derrick Henry, going to be a lot less interested in him. The funny thing is Henry got like all the usage that you could ever want from Derrick Henry at Minnesota. 20 carries, 3 targets. Like, I'll sign up for that every single week. Give me 20 carries, 3 targets. Whatever happens, happens. And I think he can smash here, but it is Baltimore, and they're pretty good against the run. Now, they weren't that great against the Jets run, but they're good overall against the running back. And part of that has been because they've been so pass funnel that teams are not running against them. But Baltimore will run it with a lead. So I think it's fine, but it's not a play that stands out to me with this low total game. Similarly, I'm not going to be super excited about Quinshon Judkins. I think he's fine. Again, 22 carries. He got all the work you wanted. The biggest negative affecting Judkins is how bad his team is. The team stinks. So he has a hard time getting in the end zone because the team isn't scoring that often. But I think Judkins was a good play last week. The team did score a bunch of times. He got all the work we were hoping for. It just didn't lead to a touchdown, which is or a 100-yard bonus, which is why we got this sort of middling score. But I mean, tack on a 100-yard bonus and a touchdown, and we're at 22 points, and we're like, all right, thank you, all right, cool, thanks, Judkins. Quinch. If I was buddies with Quinshon, what would I call him? Q, Quinn, Quinch, Quinchy, Shawnee. Thanks, Shawnee. I don't know. I want to be friends with him, so that's why I'm practicing the name. Q, what up, Q? Maybe that. All right, where was I? Totally lost my train of thought there. Judkins. Oh yeah, here we go. Rachaad White. I'm probably going to get another week as the starter. 10 carries, 5 receptions. I mean, he does all the stuff that you want. That could lead to a decent to good game. So probably stay in the mix. Jaylen Warren is really interesting. I have not rostered Jaylen Warren, I don't think at all this year. Right? I don't love the volume. It's a little too low. The targets aren't quite there. But, oh my goodness, we get the magical opponent, the Bengals. If there was ever a game where Jaylen Warren could have a good game, this is it. I guess I'm going to wait and see what the ownerships look like. I mean, he has had a 22-pointer in this matchup earlier this year in a monster game. But he's still only, 16. He didn't even get a touchdown in that one. So he did pretty well for somebody who actually didn't get a touchdown. 4 receptions, 127 rushing yard. I mean, that's what happens in games against the Bengals. I just think you have to have a little exposure there. Mason, no. Hampton, no. Kamani Vidal, I'll give him a maybe. 25 carries and a target last week. No, not that much target work necessary for him, but I mean, he gets the ultimate matchup. Like I said, again, against Jacksonville. I guess they're worse versus the pass than the run, but it is a solid situation. Let's talk about the Swift situation now. 13 carries, 8 targets. Beautiful against the Giants last week, right? What about Monangai? They were going with the hot hand. Monangai came off the big game. Only 7 carries, 1 target, 0 reception. What does that tell you? Well, I'll tell you what it tells me. It tells me that DeAndre Swift remains the RB1 for this team, as good as Monangai did against like the Bengals. They understood that, hey, that's the Bengals, and, Swift is our guy. So 5,800, I think we can go back to Swift in this matchup against the Vikings. I'm fine with it. We might have to switch it up. I don't think I can afford to build any kind of a lineup. Even a sample first look lineup can't be built with all that expensive running back action going on. We're going to have to find a cheap one, right? We got Chase Brown at the Steelers as well. So we can do Warren on the bring back for this Flacco lineup. We can go right to Chase Brown, double down. Let's see what Chase Brown has been doing. What can Brown do for you? I don't know. 8 receptions. DraftKings does not have the target numbers. No target numbers, but he caught 8 balls for 75 yards and some carries in this monster game. I think we could play him. I think we could play him with Flacco in the same lineup. So I think Brown or Warren are appropriate in a lineup like this, built around this Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game, because I don't know, that's the quarterback I chose. But I still want to talk about a few other running backs that have some life in them this week. Travis Etienne against the Chargers at home. I mean, 16, he's getting targets. He does all the things that you want, except for put up big numbers, but he does all the things that you want. Let's take a look at Aaron Jones Sr. I feel like no player should have the word senior in their name. The minute you put the word senior in your name, it makes you feel like you're very close to retiring. Think of all the players with a senior. It's not a good scene. Wait to put the senior until after you finish your career. It's not needed. Steve Smith Sr., career was over soon. Debo Samuel Sr., guy is, on his last legs. Any seniors, it's not good. Don't put that on your name while you're a football player. Marvin Harrison Sr., he took the senior off his name after his son dropped so many passes last week. It's like, he's not my son. No. Anyway, Aaron Jones has been pretty good. Getting some targets, setting some carries. To me, he's the running back to own. I don't even mind taking a crazy shot on him at this price this week in big GPPs. Another crazy shot, long shot guy, Woody Marks, 14 carries, couple of targets last week. Now he gets Tennessee, one of the easiest matchups possible for a running back. So yeah, I think Woody Marks at 5,400. If we're looking to pay down, these are not the worst of options. They're not the best, but they're not the worst. That's about it at running back right now. There's no real stream value that opened up or anything. I'll throw in one more name. This name's a little crazy, but Amari DiMercato, I do think is taking steps towards becoming the RB1 for the Cardinals. Like I thought from the beginning, between Michael Carter, Bam Knight, and this guy, I think this guy is the best of them, and he has the most experience. I'm not sure why they didn't go to him at first, but I think we can consider DiMercato as an interesting Millie Maker type pay down long shot at the running back position, with the hope that he elevates his carry percentage. The targets were there, but his carry percentage up to maybe 14, like something like this. But with all of this, like if he was 14 for 79 and 4 targets, 3 receptions, 40 yards, I'm happy. I'm fine with that. This is 7 points. This is 8. You combine it, you're at 15. Throw a touchdown on top for 4,500. You're at 21. That would be what I was hoping for if I played some DiMercato. Yeah, that's going to do it for the running back group, NFL Week 11. Let's go on to wide receiver. Start at the top, work our way down. There's some studs. There are some extreme studs at the top of the wide receiver position. Which one do we go with? I think I have my stud of the week picked out, but I'm just going to say this right off the bat. First of all, last week, let's just go and see what they did last week. So JSN with a down week, only 6 targets, 5 receptions. What the hell happened there, right? That was primarily because Arizona or Seattle blew out Arizona. I do not see that happening here this week. I see a very, very close game. I see a high-scoring affair. I see all of that. So JSN, right back in the conversation week 11, right? He's 8,900. Again, on the road, some things working against him, but I loves me some JSN here this week, every week. Next up, of course, Puka. Also, just 6 targets for Puka. Non-competitive matchup as the Rams blew out the 49ers, and they just didn't need as much from Puka. He got the touchdown, but, the big game just wasn't there. He ruined lineups if he was in them. Yes, it was a good game for your fantasy league for him, but not so good for DFS. I say we can go right back to it here. I hate to say it. More competitive matchup. Does not matter. Puka's the GOAT. Does not matter what he did last week. We gotta be unburdened by what has been. Think of what can be. Unburdened by what has been. Okay, he didn't have a big week last week. So what? Coming right back. And then finally, my favorite of them all, Jamar Chase. who also didn't do much in his most recent game, but prior to that, 19, 23, and 12 targets, 10 targets the week before. This guy is getting peppered with targets. This is an amazing matchup. Opponent rank, 32nd. Put him in the lineup. Get in my belly, Jamar Chase. Get in my belly. Extra points if you know what that's from. Sorry. And my apologies. I'll never do that again. All right. Moving on. So, yeah, of the trio between Chase, JSN, and Puka, I'm definitely going to favor Chase. Definitely favoring him in a Flacco lineup. Not that that matters that much. I'm really just trying to pick some of the best plays for this week, regardless of what's going on screen. This is not a lineup intended for entry into a contest. Just visual purposes in terms of players I'm excited about early in the first look, right? So let's keep it going. Rashee Rice against the top-ranked Denver defense, going up against maybe Patrick Surtain. It's an avoid for the most part. He can have a big game, but it's not a spot I'm purposely trying to pay up for. Devontae Adams, he's got a Q tag. What's up with that? Oblique injury, probably returned. So probably be okay for this week, but he remains overpriced for the role, and I'd much, much, much rather play Puka for 1,000 more. It's not even close. So Puka's averaging 20, almost 24 fantasy points. Devontae's at 17, and it's very heavy touchdown dependent. So I'll take Puka over him every time. Justin Jefferson's really interesting. As we build around the Chicago game, 12 targets, only 4 receptions. I like that they're throwing to him a lot, but this is a reminder that JJ McCarthy is just, not trustworthy right now. So this has to be kind of like a GPP only thing where we're not taking too many chances on JJ, really outside of like Chicago or build arounds or that kind of thing. Drake London, let's see, 6 receptions off of 8 targets, got the bonus, got the touchdown, another big week coming off the 41-pointer, 34-pointer a couple of weeks ago as well. So Drake London is starting to do what we thought he could do this year, which is shocking considering it's still Michael Penix out there who's not that good. But hey, you know what? Fine by me, right? This is as good of a spot as anything for Drake London against the Panthers. I don't have any problem with it. Maybe even more exciting play, Emeka Egbuka, 13 targets, 6 receptions last week, 26-point game. That was going up against Christian Gonzalez, really good coverage, crossed the 115 mark. And Emeka Egbuka reminded us that he's effectively an unstoppable piece, especially with a lack of alternatives at the wide receiver position right now for Tampa. We're going to go right back to it. 7,200, fine. Can I afford him in a lineup like this? Probably not. But generally, I love Egbuka. He's probably my next favorite as we go down the list. Like one from this top zone, if we had to pick one from here, it's going to be Egbuka all day, even ahead of Drake London. Of course, we got Nico Collins with CJ Stroud coming back. Collins pretty reasonably priced, coming off 15 targets. I mean, the double-digit targets the last 3 weeks. I love that, right? Now we get a really poor defense. I like that. So I don't see anything to keep me off of jumping right back on board the Nico Collins bandwagon. Some of these other names, though, like Ladd McConkey, great, another great week, but he's doing it all on very, very small volume, right? There's a lot of names, a lot of mouths to feed for the Chargers right now. So it's hard to trust him all the way up here when I've got 2 of his teammates that probably get the same number of targets or potentially for $5K, so much cheaper. Let's see what Zay Flowers did as chalk last week. I feel like on the shows that I was on, I warned everyone. Zay Flowers chalk is always bad chalk, right? This guy, when he pops off, it never happens when you're waiting for it or expecting it. Week 1, right? It never happens when you're expecting. And it's pretty rare that it happens because the target volume isn't always there. So now he's up to 6,400. The matchup is worse than last week. No, I'm out. All right, Rome Odunze, 10 targets, 6 receptions, right? Coming off of a donut. Stud off a dud, got it done. 6, 12, 18, 24. So, yeah, I mean, we need about 24 fantasy, but I think go right back to it. It's fine. BTJ, I'm assuming he's going to be out. T. Higgins. Yes, please. Flacco double stacks, triple stacks. I mean, come on. T. Higgins, 7 receptions, 121 yards, 2 touchdowns, 36 fantasy points. I think it'll probably be Jamar Chase this week. I think like the pendulum will swing back over, but you never know. MHJ, again, let's take a look at what he did. I mean, come on, bro. 12 targets, only 3 receptions. What the hell's going on here? What the hell? I just think Marvin Harrison, maybe he's not that good. I need to go watch the tape of that game. I want to see what happened. But in general, yeah, I think he stays in the mix. For me this week, I think you got to keep going back to it if they're going to throw volume at him, as long as Brissett is the quarterback. If this was a Brissett lineup, I would have Harrison and Trey McBride in there. One or the other, but maybe both. DK Metcalf coming off 7 targets. Like, the volume, not crazy good for Metcalf. Let's not lie to ourselves. Yeah, Ted McMillan, I don't know. I'm not going to be super excited about anything that Bryce Young is doing at this point. Yeah, so definitely down with T. On Cortland Sutton, no. MHJ, no. I'm going back and forth on DK Metcalf here. I think it's an acceptable bring back with Flacco. So I'll definitely have some exposure there. Ted McMillan, no. Wandy, we have to see what's going on with Dart, but generally I'm not going to be interested there. Troy Franklin, man, right? 9 targets, 10 targets, 8, 9. I mean, we got to stop ignoring this guy. He's in play. Very playable. What's going on with Ricky Pearsall? Any news? Chance to practice Wednesday. So, we might get the return of Pearsall. That will help some of my fantasy teams. So let's hope that does happen here. Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen has been, what an old guy does. Couple good games, but like a lot of disappointments in between. So be careful there. K-Shack. Look, K-Shack keeps doing Khalil Shakir things, getting lots of targets and not doing that much with them. Dangerous. No, none of that. And DJ Moore coming off a 0. But the next player that I'm kind of interested in here is Juwan Jennings. We need pieces from this game. This is one of the games I'm looking to target players from. And Jennings coming to 9 targets. He's got an 18, a 14. Scores ascending. I think we'll probably get the return of Purdy, which could be a positive for him. He's not my last name at the wide receiver position that I'm interested in, but he's definitely high on my list here at that price point. I think PJ Washington, acceptable as well. This guy's coming off of 10, 9, and 7 targets as well. Seems to be becoming the top dog for Jacksonville. Dubs here against the Giants, maybe. Quentin Johnston, guys, I just want you to pay attention to a stat line that I like. I like these kind of stat lines, but a couple of bad weeks in a row, 10 targets, only 5 receptions in a easy kind of win game spot. So Quentin Johnston, go put him back on the radar. Somewhat interested in QJ here. Rashid Shaheed, let's see what he did last week. Nothing, right? Big disappointment. Worthy, all season long disappointment. Nothing to see there. Slayton, no. Ridley, no. Myers, meh, right? So let's get down to the next little group where I think we could find some savings here. Keon Coleman, 8 targets, 3 receptions. I already like this Bills game. Keon Coleman's been burning us week after week after week. Got the touchdown. Actually was a good play on FanDuel. Not as good here on DraftKings. Not a lineup killer per se, but just not great. I think we can go back to it. I know it's gross. It's brutal. But I think we can go back to it. Christian Watson, now with Golden banged up for the Packers. I think his role is going to continue to increase week to week. So kind of want to get some action on this Giants game. It doesn't excite me, but that could be something noteworthy that Jerry Jeudy finally got a bunch of targets. And I'm just interested in that, right? Down to 4,400. Cedric Tillman comes back here. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess he becomes a radar piece here. Let's scroll down though. There's a couple other names at 4K, 2 names really here at 4K, and then a cheaper one that I kind of am interested in, but Calvin Austin is who I'm going to plug into this lineup. Now, do I love it? No, but the guy 6'6'7", he gets the king matchup, the ultimate matchup against the Bengals. If it's ever going to get done, maybe it's here. I don't know. Right. So if we're trying to build around this Flacco game, got Chase Brown, you've got Jamar Chase, bring back of Calvin Austin. I think that's not terrible in terms of correlation for a lineup that we might build like that. We're going to need these salary savers. Although also I kind of like the cheaper tight ends better than these cheaper wide receivers. But another name of interest here is Dontavian Wicks. This guy, I think he's actually probably the best wide receiver right now on the Packers, as crazy as that sounds, I don't know why he's relegated to like WR4 status with Golden in there. I think he's better than Golden. And I don't mind him as well. Take a shot in this Giants matchup. It's fine. Just a pay down super turd shot. So Austin 4K, Wicks 4K. I think they're both players that need to be on our fantasy radar this week. Let's scroll down and see if anybody else pops. There are a couple other names. So right down here, Darnell Mooney, 8 targets, 1 reception. I don't think that's going to continue. I like that he's getting targeted, and I think eventually something's got to give with Darnell at 3,700. The price has gotten too low for Darnell. So I'm interested in that as a tournament play. And I like the volume. The volume's been there. So that's acceptable. I think Luther Burden, when you see him on the field for the Bears, he looks like the best wide receiver on the team. Why is he not out there more? I don't know, but something's got to give. This kid is, I think, the best. I don't even like to trust my eye, by the way. I am not a scout. I don't normally like to trust my eyes. Like, what I'm saying, I know football. I don't know shit, but I know this kid can ball. He looks like the best guy on the field, and it's just a matter of time before he smashes. If you're in a dynasty league, my advice is trade for Burden. Try to get him on your team before he blows up, because the blow up spot is going to happen. And I think the same kind of thing here in DFS, like we want to get on the hype train before it takes off. That being said, he might need something else to happen to clear the way. If that's a DJ Moore injury or something's got to clear the way so he can get on the field. But when he's out there, I'm telling you, he is the most electric wide receiver on that team. And that includes Rome Odunze. Let's see, anything else? Not really. I mean, I mentioned before that Tillman is off of IR, and, he got knocked the dust off a little bit, but I mean, he's tied to the Browns and they stink. So there's nothing to see there. Yeah, I think that does it for the wide receiver position. We plugged in Calvin Austin with this last spot, but, I think it's interesting in terms of the build around that we're kind of putting together here. But with Arizona, with this Jennings piece, I kind of want to get a little more from that game. So if I was building an actual put it in the tournament lineup, I'd probably be looking right now at like pieces from Arizona, maybe, or San Francisco, maybe like a Trey Burton or Trey McBride / George Kittle combination to finish this thing out. But we'll see. Before we go over to tight end, actually, I want to show you guys defense this week, and it is ugly. Team defense is brutal. And I'm going to show you why. I think the play this week might just be to punt down the cheapest one, close our eyes, suck it up, and move on. So I'm going to plug in Titans at home here, praying on the fact that they scored 20 against the Chargers at home, and maybe a miracle can happen, right? With that being said, I don't think that miracle is going to happen, but I want to pay down, and I'm going to show you guys why. Because as we go up, it just gets progressively worse, but more expensive. I'll show you what I mean. Am I playing defenses against Baltimore? No. Bengals at Pittsburgh. Bengals are one of the worst defenses we've ever seen. Bucks at Buffalo. No, I never play defense against Buffalo. I just don't, right? Arizona at home. No, like against San Francisco. Right? Doesn't excite me. Do I want to play defense, a road defense against the Rams? No. Do I want to even play a home defense against the Chiefs? No, right? So we're continuing to get through all of these bad spots. Panthers at Atlanta. All right. Panthers on the road. Okay. But am I excited about it? No. Am I even more excited than Titans? Probably not. So again, got nothing there. Keep going. Jaguars against the Chargers. No way. Right? Jaguars defense is particularly terrible. Bears at Minnesota. Yes. Okay. This one I can get on board with if we want to pay up a little bit. Why? Why could we accept the Bears? Because J.J. McCarthy is playing like a rookie, and that is something to target over and over and over again. So I don't have a problem with that, but we got to pay an extra $500 to get there, and I'm not in love with it. I just think it's maybe better than Titans, right? Keep going. Chargers at Jacksonville, that I can deal with. But again, it's a road team, not super exciting, got to pay a little bit more. But yes, Bears, Chargers, I think are in play. Rams, maybe a little bit, but not exciting. Vikings, again, maybe a little bit at home, not exciting. KC at Denver on the road, no, right? See that? Notice the pattern. Bills at home against Tampa, probably not super excited about that. Pittsburgh Steelers at home against the Bengals. Yeah, maybe, but also not super exciting. They haven't been good this year. San Francisco on the road in Arizona, maybe, but like, again, probably not. So where are we going with defense? Atlanta at home, sure. 3,500 against the Panthers, fine. It's an unsexy week. Packers at the Giants, not if Dart is playing. Dart's the man. If Dart doesn't play, I'll have some interest. And finally, the other side of this game I think is great. Houston at Texans. That's where we want to go. That's the defense I want to play. The problem is it's 3,700. That's an extra $1,200. I damn well better get some extreme results from Houston if that happens. So I don't mind it. I like Houston up here. That's fine. But for the purpose of this lineup, I think I'm going to go with the cheapest and allow the salary flexibility here to play a couple of names that I'm really excited to play. Right. So there we go. I'm going down with the Titans on defense. That's probably going to be something I actually use in real life, in real lineups this week. But yes, I like the Texans at 3,700. I don't mind the Ravens, but I definitely like the Texans on the road. I don't mind the Falcons at 3,500. There are other spots I don't mind. And of course, these $2,800 guys with Chargers and Bears. So a couple of spots of interest, but I don't have a problem punting all the way down. Fuck it. YOLO the defense. Now, let's jump over and talk about the tight end position, NFL Week 11, starting with Trey McBride. What a beast. He almost propelled me to a tournament win this week on FanDuel. Almost. I was in third place. I was riding it. Hold. Yo. What's that song? The man song. Hold. But it didn't hold. So you can't deny that this guy has been a beast with Jacoby Brissett in the game. I actually like the idea of also making an alternative lineup here. I almost built today's lineup around the brisket. Okay. Look at what it looks like here. Oh, look at all that salary, right? Like it just saves you a little bit. So I almost built around Brissett this week and just kind of did McBride and even consider getting, pieces from San Francisco, McCaffrey. It works, right? This lineup with Brissett works. I go right, switch it up. Go to Brissett, right? McBride, bring back Jennings, 4,200. I almost have enough for George Kittle to finish it out. But we got Jennings in there already, McBride. I would change it up and get George Kittle in there. That's how I would do it. I would finish this lineup up with George. But let's go right back to this. So, McBride is the super stud and worth paying for. Let's leave it at that, right? Then we've got George Kittle here, who 9 for 9. Again, another smash game, and this is what you had to expect. I loved him last week. I love him again this week. As long as those players continue to be hurt for San Francisco, I don't mind, like I said, I don't mind a little ping pong. I love this game. So I don't mind a little bit of ping pong with Kittle and Trey McBride if that's what we want to do, right? So Kittle, McBride, Brissett, all very doable. Travis Kelce, no. Oronde Gadsden is interesting. If this Q tag goes away, he had already 6 targets before he came out of the game last week as well. That was not in any sort of a smash spot. So I think Gadsden was a little bit pricey for the amount of targets he's getting most weeks, but I don't mind it here as well. I think Cade Otton is somebody we got to pay attention to. 12 targets, 9 receptions. The Bills are really, really good against the tight end. Does not matter. Ignore. That's something to ignore. All you have to do is realize that Cade Otton has absolutely crushed it in games that both Mike Evans and Godwin are missing. It's fine. This is going to be a high-flying affair. Cade Otton, acceptable. Theo, no. Kyle Pitts, maybe, right, at 4K. I'm giving him a maybe right there. We got Fannin Jr. here. Just kind of slight interest. Let's see what Musgrave did. Not impressive. Of course, no one was impressive in that game, but not super impressed by Musgrave and what he gave us on Monday Night Football. So I'm probably not going to run to that. Colston Loveland, also good. He's really just a stack with more of a stack. Most of these guys are going to be stacked with quarterback pieces. Like if I'm playing Caleb, I'll stack him with Loveland. Mark Andrews got another touchdown. He's been really good, but you can't count on that every single week. And the pay down options get really, really slim here. If we want to like save some crazy salary, what about taking a shot on Jonnu Smith in that that lineup we were building around Flacco? So get Jonnu Smith as our bring back piece, super low owned, right? Opens up a stud in the final flex spot, 7K. All right, that was a lot of money to spend, right? But Dowdle in there, Nico Collins. So this is really interesting to me. Flacco stacked with Chase Brown and Jamar Chase. We've got Jennings in there from San Francisco. I'd like to get an Arizona piece. I might switch this up, but with Flacco, we got the bring back here of Calvin Austin and Jonnu Smith, and you could finish it out however you want. Really interesting. Again, can do that, or just go to the studs right here. Throw George Kittle in there, and you've got a little back and forth. I need an Arizona piece to balance out Jennings and Kittle, but it's possible. The other idea here would be to switch up from, we can go with Metcalf and Jonnu, which is a pretty cheap bring back, and then still have enough money to plug in a $5,300 flex play. And we have a lot of choices there, including George Kittle, who I think is a reasonable flex option this week. Guys, the big thing though, I do think one of the approaches that we want to kind of use this week is probably going to be double tight end. So I want to try to get McBride in there or George Kittle, one or the other. Let's throw McBride in this one and see if I can make it work with the salaries. Probably not. Yeah. So when you do that, you really are like the 3,600 I have left in the flex here is really just like a tight end price. It's going to be really hard to find a decent non-tight end to throw in a lineup at that price point. Yeah, Loveland, that kind of thing. Mark Andrews, meh. Meh. I don't really like him. I think we need to be in this 4K range to make it work. So where I might go with this one might be something like George Kittle. And Gadsden is really the one that's popping, or K-Dot. And again, one last look at the flex here. See who's available for 4,900. Shaheed, Worthy. No. So yeah, it's really going to have to be double tight end kind of week. Most likely a lot of the case, especially what I'd actually rather do, like I said, spend a little bit more money on that WR3, maybe like a Quentin Johnston. And then we can go with like a 3,900 tight end. I think Pitts, Fannin Jr. works, Musgrave, love it. One of these, even Dalton Schultz here, whatever. Let's go back to Austin. Actually, this one worked the craziest. Austin, Jonnu Smith. That one is by far the craziest. What has he done? 2 targets. He's just been so bad. It's going to be tough to play Jonnu Smith. I'd leave Austin in there, maybe even Freiermuth instead. 3,200. 3,433. It's a little better. I don't love any of it. 4,950. Throw Kittle in there. Yeah, and fill out the final spot as you will. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for the first look, NFL Week 11 on DraftKings. Let me know what your first look, where did your first look take you? What game is popping? Was there something I didn't message? Or is there somebody I didn't bring up that looks like they could smash this week? Let me know. Also, if you've enjoyed this video, I'm going to ask you to just hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the DFS Army YouTube channel. Subscriptions are free. We have video content coming out all throughout the week here on DFS Army. And of course, most importantly, if you want to take your game to the next level, if you want to learn how to use advanced tools, not just be presented with some tools and be on your own, how to use our simulation models, how to use our domination station, how to attack DFS successfully, you already see the helmets in all of the content. See those DFS Army avatars, like this guy right here. You see him staring at you at the top of tournaments. You're like, what are those guys doing? I'm watching Kev. I'm trying, but I like him, but I haven't figured it out. Sign up for DFS Army, promo code Geek, 10% off. Do the VIP. Covers everything, all sports. We are in the perfect time of year for DFS. We got NBA, NHL, golf is still happening. Even some NASCAR's going on. MMA's happening. We got college football. We got college basketball. It's a non-stop DFS party. Hockey. Goons. We got toothless hockey goons in DFS Army. Show in the crease. Check it out here on the DFS Army YouTube channel. So once you get signed in, promo code Geek, my name, Geek, 10% off. Do the monthly VIP. You won't regret it. Guys, Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you all next time. Good luck this week. Helmets up.